Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Certainly pleased to have you all here tonight. It is Tuesday, March 10th, and we'll start our meeting with a roll call of our City Council.
Councilmember Staggers?
Present.
Anderson?
Here.
Erickson?
Here.
Erpenbach?
Here.
Jameson?
Here.
Karski?
Here.
Kiley?
Here.
Rolfing?
Here.
Thank you, Council. Appreciate that. In Sioux Falls, we start our City Council meetings with an invocation. And Dr. Eric McCandless of Empire Baptist Temple has led us in prayer a number of times, and we're blessed to have you back. Thank you, Doctor, for being here. What we'd ask you to do is to stand for the blessing and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Doctor?
Let's pray. Our Father, we thank you tonight for the privilege to be attending here and watch a great city in action. I pray that your blessings would be upon each one of these council members and each one of the citizens that are here in support. And Lord, that we would be honorable in all the decisions, whether they're large ones or small ones, that they would be done honorably and rightly for the next generations to reap the blessings of even tonight's decisions. Father, bless tonight, but put your hand on this place and this city in a mighty way, we beg you. In Jesus' name I ask it. Amen.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. I do have one proclamation I would like to read. Is Deb Callahan here, please? Deb, just in time. Nice job. Welcome, Deb. Thank you. The proclamation reads, whereas the Big Sioux Aquifer underlies approximately 1,000 square miles, and together with the Big Sioux River, provides water to several communities in southeastern South Dakota. Whereas the upcoming 22nd Annual Sioux Empire Water Festival will provide 2,583 fourth grade children from 115 classes in 50 southeastern South Dakota schools with information about the protection and preservation of water, our most valuable resource. It will help children make educated decisions concerning water in the future. Whereas this education is accomplished with the help of 100 plus volunteers from federal, state, county, and city governments, and from private businesses. Whereas the City of Sioux Falls recognizes the long-term benefits of this type of education and supports such educational efforts. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim March 17th and 18th, 2015 as Sioux Empire Water Festival Days in Sioux Falls and the Sioux Empire. Deb, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Council will now move on to our consent agenda. Any motions or changes?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
It's been a motion and a second to approve our consent agenda. Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I have two items. Economic development, core facade revitalization, Gorley Properties, $43,682. And then secondly, economic development again, core facade revitalization, 218 South Phillips Avenue, LLC, $54,054.
Councilor Staggers, thank you. We will pull those two items and we'll discuss them later. If there's no other discussion, a roll call vote on the remaining items.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson? Yes. Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Now our regular agenda, Council. Any motions or changes to that?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Kiley.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve tonight's agenda and seconded by Councilor Kiley. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That has also passed 8-0. Thank you. We do want to welcome you to tonight's City Council meeting. Thank you for being here tonight. You actually have an opportunity to engage the council now on really any topic that you want. All we'd ask is that you just limit your comments to 5 minutes or less, and then just introduce yourself to the people of our town. Would anybody want to engage the council? Well, thank you anyway. It's great to have such a nice crowd here tonight, and we hope you learned something. We'll now move on to item number 10. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. Councilor Staggers. Councilor Staggers had two items he wanted to discuss from tonight's consent agenda. The first one is core facade revitalization. It's 909 East 8th Street, and it's for $43,682. Councilor Staggers?
Yes. I don't believe there's anybody here to speak about it, and it's not necessary. Oh, do you want to go ahead?
Councilor, did you have a question on this?
No, I didn't. I just wanted an opportunity to vote against it.
Sure. Okay. Well, did you have no questions?
I think I'm pretty familiar with this program,
Okay.
along with my colleagues on the council.
Thank you. Well, thank you. With that in mind, then, appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd
Yes.
move approval on both of those economic development items that were pulled from the consent agenda.
Second.
Very good. There has been a motion to approve these two items that Councilor Staggers pulled. One was for $43,682. The other one was $54,054. One was for 909 East 8th, and the other one for 216 South Phillips.
If I could just say something briefly about that. My concern with this program that the city has had for some time now is that we're using city tax dollars for this core facade program. I don't think it's appropriate for us to do that. Instead, maybe we should think about maybe having tax reduction for these businesses that have these facades, instead of using city taxpayer money.
Thank you, Councilor. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That has passed 7-1. Item number 12. Or item number 10, I'm sorry.
Item 10 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, declaring certain property of the City of Sioux Falls surplus and approving an offer by AR Properties LLC to purchase real property from the City of Sioux Falls.
Hi, good evening. Brent O'Neill with the Economic Development Division. Here to talk about a proposed land sale that the city owns land and we'll be selling it for development. Gave a couple different presentations to the council, so I have just a couple high-level points to go through here. Again, just kind of a reiteration of the property that we're looking at. The city went through an RFP process seeking development for the project. We had two proposals, one that proposed a development, another that was trying to acquire the property. So as part of our process here, we're at a stage now where we have a picture at the bottom there showing you tentatively what a project could look like. The city and our department is recommending selling that property to AR Properties for $195,000. We have looked from a broker's opinion to an appraisal to kind of our own internal feeling on things, and $5 to $11 is kind of the range per square foot where that could fall. The city acquired the property for $4 a foot about a decade ago. Our recommendation, again, at that $195,000 is to sell it for $7 per foot. That picture you saw showed a 10,000-foot office building that we anticipate would start construction maybe as soon as April, when the ordinance, if approved tonight, would become effective. A couple other things to consider. There is a piece of obsolete right-of-way, and that's another agenda item tonight. That would need to be vacated. There's an existing city sculpture on that property that would need to be relocated. A couple other things that just wanted to bring to your attention. This project would qualify for the downtown tax reduction program. There are a lot of utilities in the area, so that would require cooperation by the city and other property owners on those. The property owners in that area have asked us to look at reconstruction of 2nd Street. I think that's mislabeled up there, 2nd Street. And then I know one thing that was brought up last week too, there is a reversionary clause provided in the agreement. Therefore, if a project does not go forward, the city does have the ability to reacquire the property. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Brent. Good job. You folks, this is a second reading, so you actually have the opportunity to engage the council on this topic. Does anybody want to do that?
If I may say, the property owner or the future property owner is in the audience, would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I have a question. A constituent asked me this question, and I couldn't give them an answer. When we purchased the land from the railroad, did the railroad have that land as an easement, or do they actually own the land? Do you know the answer to that?
Well, I can't give you a perfect answer there because it was a bit of a complicated ownership. Ultimately, again, it was used for railroad for many decades. Ultimately, the state of South Dakota had ownership. And so we acquired it from the state of South Dakota, again, roughly a decade ago.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Councilor Jameson.
Brent, two questions.
Sure.
The qualifies for downtown tax abatement. Could you just give a brief little summary of what that means?
Sure. Certain projects in the downtown area that add significant value to the existing property tax base qualify for what we call tax abatement or tax reduction formula. That simply allows a 5-year phase-in of those new taxes that would be generated by this property. So it's basically 0% increase the first year, 20, 40, 60, 80. And then ultimately in that 6th year, it's fully taxed.
Okay, that's very good. Okay. And the other is you'd mentioned that you had two proposals. The first one, they were just trying to buy the land. The second one is the one that you've accepted. But
Correct.
how important for you was the consideration of actually having a building built versus, just getting rid of the land?
Sure. From our standpoint, it was really important, maybe the number one consideration. And there's a few things that went into that. One, that's an entrance to Falls Park. So, a building project could really change the landscape, the gateway into that park. Another factor would be, simply that tangible return on investment. We'll have a significant office building that will add to the tax base. And so we do see, significant gain in property taxes by having a project occur here as well.
Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. One quick question. The appraisal that was done, when was that done? I know that the purchase price matched the appraisal price, and I'm curious if it was done recently or a few years ago, or when that was.
It was, it was done between the time we issued the RFP.
Which is when?
Spring of 2013, somewhere in that window, yes.
Thank you. Move for approval.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Erickson's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Karski. Councilor Rolfing.
Very quickly, I'm really looking forward to this project because I think it's going to be a really great project to kind of top off that ride to the falls down Phillips Avenue. So thank you to Stockwell.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 11.
First reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the naming of a facility space on public property, Club Cambria.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Russ Sorensen, representing the City of Sioux Falls Planning Office this evening. This evening, there's a first reading for a naming ordinance involving the Denny Premier Center. And this naming application is for the Club Cambria. It's located on the northeast corner of the second-level concourse of the event center. And the Cambria is the signature partner at the event center. And the remodeling for the Club Cambria race, which could seat up to 500 persons, will include but not be limited to quartzite elements for countertops, tables, flooring, and wall cladding and furniture. Cambria will be responsible for all costs associated with this build-out of the physical space. The completion of the remodeling project is anticipated this spring of 2015. Like other event spaces, SMG, our contract partner, will be providing routine maintenance for this space. We had no public comments regarding the item, And this is a 2-year, 10-month sponsorship agreement with Cambria that would end in December of 2017. Sponsorship payments would be $25,000 for the first year and $30,000 for the second and third years. With that, the naming committee recommended unanimous approval of this naming request.
Russ, thank you. Council, any questions or comments or motions? Councilor Rolfing?
As most of us have gotten email and answer or question about the granite and everything that is there at this point, would we be taking that down in a way that we could preserve it so that it could go up in, let's say, 4 years if Cambria decides not to renew this type of contract?
I'm not aware of that communication. I'd like to look at that, but then provide information at the second reading. Councilor?
Well, my question is still, are they going to remove that is going to be there so that it can be put and save it so it can be put back up if this thing kind of falls apart 3 years, 4 years down the line?
I believe so, but let me defer that to SMG, our contractor. Rick Huffman, please.
Rick, would you mind just introducing yourself to the people?
Rick Huffman, Director of Sales and Public Relations for the Denny Sanford Premier Center. Thanks for the question. Yeah, to the best of our ability, we're going to preserve everything, maybe repurpose it in the convention center or the arena. There might be some, droppage or cracks along the way as it's taken out, but it is, I think considered city surplus property, and we'll try and repurpose it as much as we can and hold on to it just in case, as you said, it doesn't go through in the end. We could put it back in, although Cambria has stated that the quality of the product that's going to be in there is going to be so nice that we'll probably want to leave it as is, just changing out anything that is branded by Cambria.
Councilor Jamison.
Thank you, Rick. As long as you're up here, the 3-year term does kind of make it interesting. It looks to me as though it would be permanent.
Right. Yeah, and that is their desire. They do these at major league ballparks and arenas across the country. And they like to be long-term partners. We agreed to an initial 3-year contract to see how it went, made sure all parties were comfortable with things, and then they've indicated their desire after that to do a longer-term contract at that point.
My only concern would be that the leverage after 3 years is going to be pretty slim when it's already built, and you're like, well, we don't want to pay to have it redesigned. You could put it out for bids to see if somebody else would, but you obviously tried for longer than 3.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we discussed it with them initially as a 5-year contract, and then settled on 3.
Just as an opinion, I think a little longer term is probably more appropriate, but it's not my business either. But just my opinion.
Okay.
Maybe later I'll have to amend it. But okay, the other part is, did they participate? Cambria participate in the beginning of all of the discussions of all the sponsorships? Were they? Did they apply or propose a partnership at the beginning of the whole building?
I don't know the answer to that. I could check back. It might something that I could check with Legends on. I don't know the history there, but they approached us, late last year to look at sponsorship opportunities. We showed them the premium level, the suite level, as well as the courtside club, and they kind of settled on that club as something they were most interested in.
Councilor Tracy Turback is here, and Tracy can certainly follow up on that with folks from Legends or Darren Smith and get that to you by the second reading.
Perfect. If I could, one last thing.
Please do.
I guess the concern is, or the possibility of what else is left in the building. If I could come up with a name, but what else is left in the building that could be, if I came to you with a proposal, like if I wanted to sponsor the Escalades, take a Jameson ride or something.
Yeah.
Could I do that?
Sure.
So most anything is really...
Yeah, we're open to all ideas. We do have an inventory list. The largest item still remaining is the suite level. But there's a lot of advertising, and then we're always open to opportunities. We were just talking about one this morning that might work with a particular company in town. We got to put some thoughts to it.
Could I get the inventory list, or maybe
Sure, yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
You bet.
Councilor Buck.
I think, first of all, that Councilor Jameson would want to replace the escalators with a zip line. So
Yes.
just to be clear. Then for the directionally challenged among us,
Yes.
Tell me exactly where this is in relation to something I can relate to out there.
As you come up the grand staircase
Okay.
from the main lobby, the Kelloland lobby, the Quartzsite Club is immediately to your right.
Okay.
And that is what we're referring to as the Club Cambria.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
It's where all the club seats are on the south side of the building there.
Good. Thank you.
Councilor Kiley.
Thank you. And again, Cambria is covering all associated costs
Correct, yes.
with this basically remodel of the space.
Correct, yes.
And obviously, they were willing to do that, even though we're 6 months into the event center now, so there's no reason to believe that 2 years, 10 months from now, that somebody else might not want to come along and remodel it again.
Yeah.
So
They're investing a lot into the space, and like I said, I think it is their intention that it be a long-term partnership with us. So, if down the road it doesn't work out, we certainly have the opportunity to offer it to other sponsors. If they want to come in and completely renovate it, they would, pay for the cost of it as well. So,
and I'd just like to say this is a great opportunity for us. It's going to bring in an additional $85,000 that we're going to be able to use to the maintenance of this building, and this along with the other sponsorships, if we were to, and I'm going to credit Finance Director Tracy Turback with this information, but total sponsorships equal over 1.6 million to date. And then if we even threw in the premium seating, there's another 1.3 million, because that's still coming from the private sector.
Right.
So we're looking at almost $3 million coming in from sponsorship. So this is a great example of public and private relationships working together here. So,
and there are escalators on many of those contracts as well over time.
And I'd also like to point out that this space was available to everybody.
Correct. Yeah, it was it's always been listed on the inventory. I just personally don't know what Legends was able to accomplish in this particular case with the club. So,
thank you.
You bet.
Councilor Steggers.
Yes. Excuse me. Just to clarify, when this is remodeled, the material that's taken out of there, it's going to be put in storage and it's not going to be sold? I just want to clarify this.
Yeah, we've discussed keeping it and perhaps using some of it in other parts of the building. We could certainly just put it in storage and leave it as is if that is the desire of the majority of opinions. But the discussion right now has been to keep it and then look at ways that we could repurpose some of that granite or some of the countertops or tabletops and things like that in other parts of the facility.
Okay, and then just one other quick question. In regard to the siding, we were told that around September we would have new siding put in to kind of...
Councilor Steggers, is this comment related to the Cambria item number 11?
It's related to the event center.
Right.
Yeah.
We're on...
So I was just wondering,
Steggers,
is that still going to be the case? Are we going to do that or not?
I don't know the answer to that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we could just keep the conversation to the item, it'd be appreciated. Councilor?
Move to set the date of second reading to March 17th.
Second. Kiley.
There's been a motion to set a date of hearings for Tuesday, March 17th for this item. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Ermenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
And that is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 12.
A resolution vacating the Falls Park Drive right-of-way and the east one half of the alley lying adjacent to and westerly of said Falls Park Drive, all lying between Falls Park Drive and West 2nd Street.
Good evening, Chad Hebe with the Engineering Division of Public Works. This item is related to item 10, which you just voted on, which was selling uptown land for redevelopment. This right-of-way is just west of Phillips Avenue and north of 2nd Street and is paved. If vacated, a utility easement will not be maintained, and a portion of this right-of-way will be used in the redevelopment of that property. And engineering recommends and supports the vacation.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Thanks, Chad. Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second. Kiley.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Kiley. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 13.
A resolution approving the change of control of the Sioux Falls Baseball Stadium Agreement as amended, City Agreement Number 99-0191, held by the Sioux Falls Canaries Baseball LLC to Mankato Baseball, Inc.
Thank you,
Tracy,
Mr. Mayor,
good
council
evening.
members. If this resolution is adopted tonight, it will provide the city's consent to a change in the ownership of the Canaries Baseball Club. Mankato Baseball Incorporated is acquiring ownership of Canaries Baseball LLC. Now, Mankato Baseball Incorporated is owned by Tom Garrity and Mark Ogren. Those two gentlemen are also currently among the owners of Canaries Baseball LLC. Under the agreement that the city has with the ball club, when a controlling interest in the ball club changes, the new controlling interest must do two things. One is to obtain the city's consent. That's why we're here tonight. And the second is to provide a letter to the city to indicate that the new ownership agrees to abide by all the terms and conditions of the agreement. And that letter has been provided, and you I believe, received a copy of that. So the terms and conditions of the agreement that we have today will not change. And this, I should also mention, this consent does not affect the ownership at all of the Sioux Falls Stampede. Even though there are a lot of common owners between the two entities, this particular consent involves only the Canaries. There are representatives of the Canaries team here tonight. Tom Garrity is in the audience, so if you have questions for him, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer those as well. Thank you.
Tracy, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak to this item? Council? Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Just one question for Tracy. Tracy, what's the length of the contract right now for that stadium?
I believe they've got about 6 years or so left, and then at the end of that time, they've got a number of options to extend it incrementally. So I don't know if I can put my finger exactly on the...
How many years will the contract for?
Initially?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. Tom, maybe you can bail me out here.
Please, Tom.
Sure, come on up.
Tom, would you introduce yourself to the people of our town, please? And the question was, do you have any idea how long the original contract was for?
Yes, I'm Tom Garrity, CEO of the Sioux Falls Stampede in Canaries. 20 years.
Thank you, Tom. Councilor Anderson Jr., any questions of Mr. Garrity? Okay, thank you.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Karski.
Thank you, Councilor Rolfing. Thank you, Councilor Karski. Appreciate that. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
That is Rolfing.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That is passed 8-0. Thank you. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. And Council, if there's no, yes, Councilor?
Point of personal privilege, if I
Thank
could. I have my brother-in-law in the audience from Florida today, and I'd like to introduce Vincent Batista sitting on the front row and welcome him to Sioux Falls and say thanks for coming.
Welcome. And thanks for bringing the fine weather here with you as well. Thank you. Appreciate that. Councilor, any other motions or changes?
Adjourn.
Second.
Been a motion to adjourn and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, Sioux Falls. Make it a great, great night. This meeting is adjourned.